Welcome. My name is Sean Sebold. I'm president and founder of Sebold Capital Management. Today in our video series, we're going to talk about something that everybody watching this video hopes they encounter one time in their life, and that is the issue of sudden wealth. So let's get straight to it. What to do if you come across sudden wealth? So what is that? Sorry, let's start with the age-old one, which is a lottery ticket. So you bought a scratch ticket and you're scratching it off, and all of a sudden you won the lottery. Now, sudden wealth can come in many different forms, not just lottery tickets. It can come in forms of you selling a business. If you're in sales, you get a really big sale, and that has the ability to change your life. Perhaps you got a different job, and that really increased your income quite a bit, and all of a sudden your wealth status has changed. So, of course, everybody says money is great. However, the arrival of a lot of cash does have some problems if you're not ready for it, if you're not prepared for it. So let's take a couple of looks at some of the issues that could come up. Okay. First, investment planning. If you come across a large sum of money, you sell your business and you are making a good modest income for a good many years, and now all of a sudden you have a big pot of money, but you're not an experienced investor. That can be challenging. What to do with it, what kind of risk to take, what kind of risk not to take. Spending habits. If our spending habits are at one level and then we get a big pot of money, are we savvy enough to know what level can our spending habits increase without causing a risk to what we have just earned? So spending habits are going to be important. Relationships. Especially in a married relationship, when large sums of money come in, there may be different thought processes on what we should do with this money. What can we do with this money? One might want to go to the East Coast, one might want to go to the West Coast. So having really good dialogue and conversation is going to be really critical to make sure that you have a sound relationship and money doesn't tear you apart. Psychological and mental health, lots of things going on when it comes to additional money. We spend a great deal of our life with the sole purpose of generating economic wealth. What happens if we don't need that anymore? Where does our purpose go? So having a good, strong foundation of purpose and things you want to accomplish is also super important when it comes to bringing on a large sum of money and a large sum of wealth. Be wary of new friends. If it is found out or if it is seen that all of a sudden your wealth level has changed, you're going to get a lot of friends that you haven't seen you in a while that want to become your friend again. That's also going to have an impact of when you're out. Should you pay when you normally wouldn't? However, if people know that you have come into certain amounts of wealth, if you don't pay, is that going to hurt a relationship? So that balancing act is going to be critical to having stability as you go through this process. We get our half cousin twice removed from Oregon. All of a sudden, I need some help. So be wary is what the moral of that story is. Can't pay a headache to leave. So paranoia, these are some things that the Money, Meaning, and Choices Institute has coined. All of a sudden you have a lot of money. Is everybody out to get you? Lottery winners go through this quite a bit. Identity confusion. If you're not the guy prior to this sudden wealth that everybody looks to from a wealth perspective, and now you are, how do you handle that? There's going to be a transition point that you have to go through from this economic life to this economic life, unless you are strong enough to say, I don't need this, and I'm going to stay with my original economic lifestyle. Excessive guilt. If you come into money that is life-changing money and you no longer have to worry about the things that you worried about, there are many other people in the world that still worry about those things. How does that, how does that justify, your wealth, and how do you handle that? So, not easy questions to answer, and we've seen them handled numerous different ways in our career. Taste for luxury. So this one's a pretty common one, is when people get sudden wealth. So when football players go to the NFL and they get these large contracts, if they have come from a socioeconomic environment where they didn't have a lot of wealth. They have $17 in their bank account and they get a check for, several $1,000,000. What do? If they're not prepared, and the NFL has done a lot of work in this space, but if they're not prepared, they can take their, those life choices can ruin that entire process. 15, here are the numbers. These are a little bit dated. 15.7 of the NFL players filed bankruptcy within 12 years of retirement. So clearly they were overspending, and 78% were in financial distress within 2 years. When you have income, there's a general projection of it's going to last forever, and that clearly is not the case, especially when it comes to the NFL. And then, of course, the boundaries. What can you spend on? What should you spend on when you get that kind of money? Really hard to get through. There's always the snake oil salesman. Okay, they're going to go out and sell investments that are inappropriate. If you're inexperienced in this process, exploiters, pretenders. Get a really good advisor when you come into this money. And our advice is always wait 365 days before you change any of your economic circumstance. That way you can go through this process of understanding what you can afford rather than what you should afford. So advisors are really, really critical. So how do you keep all of this? So here's your 3 things to remember. Can it? Don't run around telling everybody or showing people that you have a very large change in circumstance. Again, our recommendation is wait a year. Don't do anything for a year. That would make sense. Put a lid on it. Keep track of the emotions. Separate yourself from the money. Again, pretend it didn't happen, at least for a year, so that you can get all the information that you need. How long will this last? What can I live on? All those kind of really critical pieces of information. Put a cap on it. Watch your spending. Get some advisors from a tax perspective, investment perspective, future planning perspective. At some point, there could be estate planning issues associated with it. Really, really critical. Get some advice for someone who has done this before so that you're not starting from nothing and trying to do it yourself, or from cousin Jimmy, who has never been in this circumstance and doesn't know the reality of what situation that you're in. So that's our video for today. Thanks for watching. Visit us at seboldcapital.com, and we'll talk to you soon.